So, what on earth is a trigger plant? Must have a trigger, must be a plant, right? Trigger plants have got modified male and female parts. Those parts are fused together, and when an insect comes to take a drink of nectar, the trigger plant smacks the bug in the head. The point behind this is to transfer pollen from the plant to the insect, or from the insect back to the plant in a second case. What does this do? It leads to the production of seeds. In other words, trigger plants have a trigger so they can get pollinated, and 99% of them are from Australia. A little bit more about how trigger plants work. This is a model of the flower of a plant called the pink fountain trigger plant. And this will be our model for an insect. Come over here, insect.
Okay.
Pretend you're going to drink some nectar from right here. Put your head down there, buddy.
No, I don't want to drink it.
Switching to a more cooperative insect, we find out more about how trigger plants work.
So, when the insect takes a drink of nectar, the trigger plant smacks it. So now we know that trigger plants have these specialized male and female parts which can swing through an arc, strike an insect, deposit or pick up pollen, thus ensuring that a new generation of trigger plants is produced, because seeds are produced. How does that movement happen? Well, the way to model this is simply hold up your arm the way I'll show you right here. Now, notice you got your upper arm, and as you raise and lower your lower arm, there are changes happening in your upper arm. I'm holding the camera with my other hand, but I'd like you to take your other hand and grab your upper arm. What you'll notice as you raise and lower your lower arm is that the top of your arm, the muscles, the biceps, become shorter and fatter, while the triceps on the back of your upper arm become longer and thinner, and vice versa. The same thing happens in the column in the trigger plant, that is the modified male and female parts. Cells on one side of the column become shorter and rounder and fatter, while the ones on the back side of the column become longer and thinner, and vice versa as the trigger goes through its movement. Now, this movement is actually one of the fastest ones in nature. The only faster movement that I'm aware of is the movement of traps of carnivorous plants called bladderworts, and the trigger plant even gives that kind of plant, the bladderwort, a run for its money on the right kind of day, a nice warm sunny day. So where do trigger plants do their thing? We already said that the vast majority of them come from Australia. A few do manage to grow in areas of Asia Pacific to the north, such as Borneo, China, Vietnam, and India, but almost all the trigger plants in the world are found in Australia. They grow anywhere from the seasonally flooded, very hot north, from the Cape York Peninsula across to the Kimberley. They're also found down in Perth, tremendous diversity here in the southwest, but they're found all the way across to Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, down throughout Tasmania. There's even one species that's found dead center in the heart of the very dry Australian continent near Ayers Rock. So not only are trigger plants amazing for having this pollination mechanism, they're also amazing because on top of that they're carnivorous plants. Here you can see a photograph from a book I wrote on trigger plants where they're actually producing drops of mucilage from hairs that are found underneath the flowers on stems. These drops of mucilage are a mixture of glue and water, and they are able to trap small insects. If you go to the field in Australia, and we've published this data, you can find trigger plants catching similar numbers of insects to known and accepted carnivorous plants like rainbow plants and sundews growing nearby. In the field in Australia, if you go looking for trigger plants, you usually find carnivorous plants, and if you go looking for carnivorous plants, you usually find trigger plants. Here you can see the flower of Stylidium fimbriatum, one of these trigger plants, and you can see all the small specks, which are these sticky hairs, and there is one single hair producing sticky droplets, or capable of producing sticky droplets. Not only are trigger plants capable of this amazing pollination mechanism, they're also carnivorous. They catch tiny insects on the order of the size of the insects caught by carnivorous plants called butterworts. I hope you'll feel free to check out these amazing plants. There's lots of information online, including a free society you can join. You'll see some of these links on the next page, the end page for this video, and I just want to thank you for watching. You have fun.